Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver.
So there was an article there in the paper, and it was that the government is going to raise the price of cheap alcohol in the coming weeks. So they're going to raise the price of cheap wine and 24-pack beer and, that kind of cheap deal thing. But you say that alcohol is actually really expensive already?
Correct. The word cheap doesn't come into the picture. Supermarkets, off-licence and supermarkets often use, especially at holiday times like Christmas and Easter, they're really probably selling it at cost or even maybe below cost for all I know, because I know it's that's not generally the price that if you're even buying it wholesale. By comparison, the EU, like Italy, France and Spain in particular, there might be other countries that have socialist policies which benefit the citizens very much, that they're looked after from birth to death. They're like Sweden and some of these other countries. Their social welfare policy would be, and their medical policy would be far superior than here. Alcohol is dear in them countries, probably to make it difficult for people to actually buy drink. But it also probably, whatever they do buy, as the tax is very well highly taxed, helps their system. And so we'll make allowances for these countries like Sweden and these other ones that have that kind of expensive drinks project, because their citizens benefit. But that's not going to happen here. What's happened here is that this government that hasn't got really a proper mandate from the electorate. If you want to put percentages on the number of people that voted for them, I think you'd be talking about perhaps about 12%, 14%, because they come third, fourth, fifth and sixth and 11th in the count, these ones that was elected. And they were only elected on the transfers of others. They've implemented an isolation, closed down policy in this country. They've closed all businesses. And without a doubt, they're not fit to govern from the point of view of this new measure that you're talking about, increasing wine and alcohol and all the rest of it. What they have succeeded in doing with their policies that they implemented, and this isolation and lockdown, blaming the virus, what they've done is increased young people's dependence on alcohol from supermarkets, and binge drinking and alcoholism has resulted in that, an antisocial behaviour. Now, they've closed the pubs, and a lot of them now will never open again. They're the places where a person that's going to have a drink should have a drink, because it's a social environment, and the publican, generally speaking, will not allow a person to overdo it. That is the beauty of the rural pub, and probably it should be the same in the city pub or the suburban pub in cities. But certainly it would be the way in rural areas where the publican would probably know the people. Now, for this government that has done such drastic items since they've been in power, this mixture of a government with Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Greens, and before that just independents that with the support of Fianna Fáil, a very unstable system that we had since 2015, and now liable to have it again. It is no way to govern in a country, and this is the result. Closing businesses and closing places like the rural pub, which was a place where people could socialise and have a chat for an hour or two. That's what they generally do and did. Not many go in there, come out to get over the top as regards drunk. But certainly the fact that all the supermarkets were open and they were the only places that you could get alcohol, and so therefore people were drinking it at home or out in the street or wherever you like. Now there's other laws that this government should be bringing in. They should be opening the businesses and dealing with this virus that they have in some other sensible way. If they weren't in the EU, they wouldn't be embarking on the policies that they embarked on for the past over a year now, nearly going a year and a half. And so my John Malone's opinion is that this is another example of the sort of awful anti-people policies that they're implementing. You wouldn't know what to do next, and people would want to perhaps organise and let them know in some way. People now are organising and standing outside churches in big numbers to bring pressure on them. But this government, I don't think, understand the word pressure. It is want to be even increased so as they would get the message and change their policies for the good of the people, not to be putting such torture on them as they have done for the past year and a half, that people are not allowed to go beyond 5 kilometres wherever they live, and liable to be summoned, and penal laws now used to stop people attending mass where they can attend it.
That's it, but the government has been attacking the pubs for many years. If you go back to the 1991 Finance Act, that was the beginning of it really, and they decided that they allowed the publican to pay so much to the revenue every year, and the publican might owe say 20 or 30,000 to the revenue, but they'd pay them off, and then eventually the pub would be sold maybe 20 years later, and then the revenue would get their full amount. That's usually the way it was working, but the Finance Act said that basically you'd have to have tax clearance before you could renew your publican licence. So that put a lot of pubs out of business. Then you had the Equality Act, you had the smoking ban, drink driving. So you did quite an awful lot of things there that were hitting the pubs.
The Equality Act is a secular a secular agenda that does the sort of things that we're talking about here, the closure of pubs.
Yes, the thing is that so there was quite a lot of things, and then the government. So what the government done then was, they realised now they've caused the problem. They herded people from the pub. They closed down the pubs basically with all their policies, right? Which the pub is responsible drinking, as you mentioned earlier on. People would drink until 11:30 or 12, and then they'd be thrown out or asked to leave. Some of them. But the thing is, but what happened then was the government anyway, with all their policies, people started going to the off licenses, and they started going to Tesco's and Dunnes Stores and Lidl and the whole lot, and they found cheap beer. Correct. And of course, when they bring that home, there's no one to tell them to stop drinking it. But once they got used to it, it's difficult to get them back to the pub. So what the government should actually be doing right now is, they should be saying, okay, rather than put up the price of beer, okay, let's get people back into the pubs. Let's reduce the tax for the public and get people back into the pubs. It's a good time to get people back into the pubs because we have COVID. Once COVID is over and done with, and hopefully it will be soon, people would be delighted to go back to a pub and meet someone. That's the way it will be.
Yeah, they'll be delighted to talk because people will be delighted to talk and meet where they can in hotels. You can't stay in, there's no hotels open or bed and breakfast or anything. I was at a funeral in Boyle, County Roscommon, and I made inquiries about somewhere to stay because I know the town like the palm of my hand. And but they're all closed.
Yeah.
So it just means that you can't stay anywhere. The only one you could stay with would be a relative or something in some place. But there's no place open that you can go to because they're liable to be charged if they did accept you. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of it's no way to have a country and to run a country. It's a kind of crazy, but I'm not surprised that this crowd has come along now and want to increase. They want to try and interfere with anything that people can get some bit of enjoyment out of, and they're not dealing with the problems that alcohol can bring if it's abused, especially if it's been purchased in off licenses and supermarkets and that. It's where it's supervised, where it's acceptable. So they wouldn't want to be doing what they're doing and attacking the Catholic and Christian faith, undermining people that's responsible and knows right from wrong. They are sort of having policies that don't make sense, and they seem to me to be wrong. Wrong in every sense.
Their idea of the pubs.
Well, that's completely wrong, because a lot of them now, because they've been closed for so long, that they're just sort of say, "Oh, to heck with it," and they were open there because they owned them. Some of the, in the rural areas, they owned them. But the number of clients coming in, or the number of customers, was being limited because the state was attacking them. With Gardaí in the middle of nowhere, putting up, and a person having one drink would be liable to be summoned.
That's right.
So I mean, that's the sort of laws they brought in. I mean, who's responsible for such stuff? Why did they do things that are so against even decency and common sense? Can they not adopt a policy for what they call responsible drinking? And the supermarkets, as I've mentioned before, their business of selling alcohol should be very much curtailed.
Absolutely. Look, the thing about it is what the government's policies have done, right, is we've lost a generation to alcoholism.
Without a doubt.
Yes, without a doubt. In the last 15 years, a lot of people have turned to Aldi and Tesco's and Lidl's and Dunnes Stores.
And getting it very cheap.
Getting it cheap.
Now, therefore now what we're going to find is that there'll be smuggling to deal with it as well. But alcoholism, and they would know about it from the health. They would know about alcoholism from the health, and they would know about a lot of other things. They would know about the increase in sexually transmitted diseases. There's so many things that they need to be dealing with. What they're dealing with here is they're not remotely interested in the welfare of people, as far as I'm concerned. It's to get money wherever they can from people and close pubs, instead of opening them as places where people at least can have a chat and a bit of sociability and meet friends. They're not promoting anything that this country was known for down the years. Look at all the visitors we used to have. With what they're doing, we'll have no visitors.
Yes. Thank you very much, John.
You're welcome. Thanks.